For more than a decade, they ruled the middleweight divisions. At 160 pounds, Bernard Hopkins built a Hall of Fame legacy with 20 consecutive middleweight title defenses.
Hard right hand by Hopkins. Set it up perfectly with the left. The executioner at work.
Just 8 pounds north, but an ocean apart, Welshman Joe Calzaghe ruled the super middleweight division with his own decade of dominance.
Look at the hand speed. Another non-stop Calzaghe barrage.
But while Hopkins starred in some of the sport's biggest events, boxing's Prince of Wales stayed home, waiting for the right fight to take his perfect record abroad. After Hopkins' middleweight reign came to a close in 2005, he moved up to light heavyweight, scoring an emphatic victory over then divisional kingpin Antonio Tarver.
What a performance by Hopkins.
Meanwhile, against Denmark's Mikkel Kessler, Calzaghe proved everything he could ever prove at super middleweight.
There's nobody else in the world exactly like Joe Calzaghe.
And at the height of his popularity, found the perfect reason finally to cross the Atlantic.
I would never let a white boy beat me. I would never let a white boy beat me.
Tonight, Calzaghe follows Hopkins to light heavyweight.
Two fighters that, you know, all the great fighters, they get beat. But I'm kind of so close to doing something that, you know, it's very, very rare. And that's retiring undefeated.
Joe Calzaghe always trains at home in Puerto Rico the way Joe Calzaghe trains at home in Wales. Suddenly, Trinidad's home is total chaos when Bernard Hopkins...
I really want to beat up, you know, with his big mouth and his bad attitude.
A cocoon, a charmed life in the bucolic surroundings of Newbridge in Wales. Far different from what he faces here in Las Vegas.
En walk yon over glad,
43 years Welsh who have been entertainers in the United States.
Obviously increased.
Throughout his career, Emanuel Stewart trained by one man, his father Enzo Calzaghe. You wouldn't have predicted at the beginning that a jazz musician could be a terrific boxing trainer. Had picked the unbeaten Dane, who seemed to have sound.
He said when we spoke to him, he says basically it's the biggest signature figures.
Perfect one. 44 bouts of Newbridge, Wales. Calzaghe. He's the former undisputed USA Bernard, the executioner.
No problem. Joe, I referee your fights in the past, no problem. I don't expect any problems tonight with a clean fight.
Clearly bothered Calzaghe.
In his first aggressive move, he ran in with his head down again, as you see right.
Hopkins supposedly demonstrated tension. Right goes Calzaghe down on a perfect right hand shot by Hopkins.
And Joe proved that in his last fight with Kessler, where he came back and turned the fight around, and Bernard does.
Tremendous respect for Hopkins. There's a trickle of blood on the nose of Calzaghe, right on the bridge of the nose. Perhaps
Calzaghe wasn't even expecting that, because from that shorter distance, it would have made it had much more effect than if it had been a long-range punch.
And any chance of numbers reflect he nears Hopkins. Bernard is reaching out and clutching him with the left arm.
A lot to do with that.
Yeah. Calzaghe beginning to get a chance to let his hands go. It still shows a little cut on the bridge of Joe Calzaghe's nose.
Calzaghe seems to be getting his rhythm going a little bit here. Punches on. Both of them are very good defensive fighters.
And now Calzaghe goes with the lead left hand down the middle, and the two fighters are engaged in what?
They've been in Briscoe, and he's, you know, who kept his head down, which avoided getting hit, made opponents hurt their hands, but also
that's saying something, because Calzaghe's always been able.
The crowd boos as Cortez warns Calzaghe. Body shots by Calzaghe. Hopkins drives. But just because you have the numbers doesn't mean you won the round.
Big right hand from Hopkins.
Right hand, or feint.
He's very effective with that right.
His hands.
trying Jeff Lacey of the United States a couple of years ago. Hopkins fighting off the ropes with his other in the ring. A one-inch height advantage, longer in the upper body than Calzaghe.
Yeah, you know, when they had the weigh-in, which they request you to do, you don't have to do it. It's mandatory. When you
no unofficial weights. Southpaw against a conventional fighter, the lead feet.
A right hand, and as he usually does, he follows up not with a left hook like he would, usually with physical tactics such as hitting you with his head or his shoulders. But he's been successful with it in most of his career.
Hopkins 7 of 29. Calzaghe in every round, but is avoiding it inside.
But you know, Jim, as you said, the more identifiable punches.
Bernard is not having a good flow of anything else.
In the middle of the ring. For the last two.
Knocked out really for the most part, Robert Allen.
Talked about before the fight, the old Jersey Joe Walcott. Take that Walcott.
Calzaghe getting in more punches and a good left hand that clocks Hopkins. Remember,
Bernard goes forward because Bernard runs in with his head down every time.
Hard right hand body shot by Hopkins amid a flurry.
He could easily, by moving and boxing in and out a little bit, he could fight a much smarter fight.
Now Calzaghe starts to get the kind of spirited combat he...
That's the two. 57, 56, Joe Calzaghe. Now, there's only a 1-point difference. Landed a lot of straight left hands, an occasional right hand, but not much more. 4-2, Calzaghe.
Is to score, I think, the second...
Well, I think it's also possible Harold Letterman gave to Hopkins.
Amazing man.
Well, he spent 17.
He was very weak making 160. He's been a light heavyweight a long time.
Calzaghe scores a rally to make Bernard Hopkins fight offensively is to go hit him, as Calzaghe is doing.
That's what I was saying right there. Really no power, more of an amateur type slapping punches, but they get points, and also leaving himself open for Bernard's punches.
Which evens the fight.
He's always looking for that. It's back when he's back to Antoine Elkins. I thought was his last really aggressive fight. Even when he beat Oscar, he patiently waited his time. He lost the early.
Another 4-punch rally by Calzaghe, punctuated by a right-hand counterpunch from Hopkins.
Both do one dirty punch apiece and leave him alone.
And there's a solid left from Calzaghe. Hopkins. And just can't find Bernard. He constantly trying to apply pressures. Trying to speed the tempo of the fight. Trying to make the 43-year-old man fight. And now
here you see Calzaghe throwing punches. Right there is a case of just his time and his rhythm is came.
Beginning to pay off. Hopkins 15 out of 38. Calzaghe 22 out. That's the best Calzaghe has done.
But he still ought to be good.
Hopkins' point of the hitter, who's short. He's trying to take the simplest, shortest.
As he goes along. Hopkins meticulously prepares his game plan. Foundational ability is what we're seeing here.
Hard right hand for Hopkins, but Joe was rolling with the punch.
And he's coming right back and not tempo. And Bernard is having a time, trying to time.
Making the sweat fly.
Another straight left hand for Hopkins. Quality. More and more as the fight.
Joe Calzaghe. Jim, the last two rounds, I mean, you've been saying it's a tough round to score. Calzaghe, the aggressive guy, and Bernard throwing fewer and fewer punches.
He pulls Calzaghe's head down.
Yep. That was not an intentional low blow by no means, and it really wasn't that bad anyway.
That you see in this situation is taking every second he can.
And grimacing as though he's still in pain. Takes place in April.
Debilitating.
Forward as he threw it.
Either one could get hit.
Explicitly stating, I'm not trying to take any points.
Calzaghe is taking big leaps forward where he can easily time him. Yeah, you see the low blow, and it was actually he was starting to punch in the proper area, but the fact he got his head pulled down is what caused the blow to actually go low. But it still didn't seem to be that damaging.
Conventional wisdom was that Calzaghe, younger, faster, higher volume of punches without
wide open. And Bernard still is a KGO guy.
From Illinois, whose record is not all that intelligible to us.
Conditioning coach. Tired arms were just unable to keep up with.
Preparing him to win the title from Larry Holmes was Roy Jones. Moving way up to
penalty. Cortez says go right ahead and fight.
But might there be retaliation?
Hopkins trying to retaliate with his big right hand. If they want to trade, Calzaghe will land more. It's as simple as
in the corners. Those early swing rounds, depending on whose favor they go in, might determine the fight.
Good left hand by.
And they're both fighting hard.
As I always say, the Nevada judges consistently like guys who.
It's a given when he only looked in the first few rounds as though his no point was ever deducted for the 2 times that the fight was stopped.
The predator in this fight is definitely.
The seconds tick away. And they fight past the bell.
Chuck Champa scores it 116 to 111 to the winner by split decision from Newbridge, Wales, still undefeated and now recognized by
Hopkins, actual